that is near and dear to my heart as a technologist and as a retailer is abuse. Based on my time at Snipes and Solo, I know firsthand how hard it is to mitigate abuse, especially when it's being committed by customers who are otherwise great and often profitable. So I'm excited to hear more about how the next panel are fighting different types of abuse. So I'd like to welcome Ghislaine to the stage to introduce our next panelists.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ghislaine Safroui. I'm Director of Product here at Forder, and I lead our abuse prevention solution. I'm super excited about this panel, and I would like to welcome Mike and Matt to the stage. All right, so I thought we would start with a round of introductions. If you could share a little bit about yourself and your respective companies, that would be great.
Sure, I can go. Michael Griffiths, Senior Manager of Marketing Technologies at Vitamix. So work exclusively with our marketing, D2C, sales, and product management teams, and oversee our marketing technology stack, including Vitamix.com.
I'm Matt Versheimer, Vice President of Product Management at Total Wine, responsible for everything on our website, customer service tools, all the way from the top of the funnel down through payments, fraud, and order fulfillment.
All right, great. So we're going to be discussing policy abuse today, and I know it's a topic that's top of mind for the two of you, but also for many of our friends here in the audience. So I thought we could start with a few trends. Let me see how this works. All right. So from a Forder perspective, we've been focusing in the last handful of years on researching policy abuse trends, but also really evolving and supercharging our abuse prevention solution. And what we have observed is policy abuse is not slowing down. It's only growing year over year. The other aspect is that it's a small group of bad actors that are driving the lion's share of negative business impact. And most importantly, they're becoming more and more sophisticated and using every mean to maximize the value that they can extract from a business. So would love to get your thoughts and perspective on what is it that you have been observing and how they have been shifting over time. So let's start with you, Matt.
Yeah, so at Total Wine, our policy abuse is a little bit different than others. We have allocated products that people want to purchase, and it's released in small batches out to our stores. And we find that there's a lot of bourbon hunters or people out there trying to collect these items to buy as much as they can, put it in their room, and either have it on a bar or something like that, or try to do a reselling. So we use the policy offering from Forder to determine how much somebody can buy. So we could do a bottle limit of 1, 2, 3, and people are creative. They find every way to try to get around it. We do have limits on our website so that as you check out, we won't let you do more. But then they get creative and they start using different devices, different emails, different addresses, you name it, they tried everything. So using Forder, we're able to try to connect them together and limit that as much as possible. And then as you stop one, they figure out another way, and it's a constant game of whack-a-mole.
And how about you, Mike?
Yeah, a lot of what Matt has said. So with Vitamix being more of a premium brand and us really trying to elevate that premium brand positioning, what we have found is that we have, at times before Forder, rampant reseller, reshipper abuse. So, in explaining that to the business, and I think someone touched on it earlier today, where some folks may say, well, a conversion's a conversion, but is that a bot or is that a meaningful relationship, LTV, with your customer? So that being said, we started the reseller, reshipper policy on credit cards, and then a trend is the path of least resistance, which these individuals will go to. So with Vitamix, we have some tentpole events, one of them being in September, and what we found last year was that reseller, reshipper indicated huge spike in an alternative payment method of PayPal, so not credit card. So then, whack-a-mole, we then implemented that reseller reshipper on our PayPal. And that's what we see is very creative as far as different configurations of an address, using Avenue, using Am, Street, different names, things of that nature. So
very interesting. So I think many of you would agree that payment fraud is a little bit more black and white versus abuse is many shades of gray. What are, for each one of you, what are some of the biggest challenges you've been experiencing in mitigating risk other than this whack-a-mole process?
Yeah, I can start. So we need to make sure that we're stopping customers that we need to stop and not hurting good customers. To your point, we want to make sure that we have that relationship with somebody. And to some extent, a little bit of abuse in this world isn't the worst thing. It's when they take it to the next level, because then it starts to impact customers that really just want that bottle because they really want to try it, or they want to give it as a gift or something like that. So it's really trying to make sure that we're stopping the right people, we're helping the right people, and there's that gray area in the middle, and depending on what their lifetime value is, can some slippage happen there? Absolutely. And then we have some customer service teams that can step in and help with that. So that's really one of the biggest ones.
Anything to add, Mike, on that?
I would just say the false positives, it's curbing that, extending a really great customer experience through our customer service department or e-com. And for customers to be able to have that level of comfortability that their data that they're providing to us is safe and secure. And on top of that, to be, cognizant of stopping these orders, because it's not only, customer experience, diminished brand proposition, but also if they're not stopped, there's a lot of operational costs that may be hidden to the bottom line as far as time. So if it's, operational folks, if it's customer service folks, if it's your inventory is being compromised, your inventory positions, and it's just being cognizant to mitigate that upstream as quickly as possible.
You bring up a good point. So essentially, addressing the problem matters not just from declining more orders and stopping the loss, but also it may have some downstream implications. So you said it's operational. Anything to add on that one? What is it that you have observed? What was really essentially at stake for Total Wine, for example? Why did it matter to do something?
Yeah, we want to make sure that we had enough inventory for folks. So when one person comes in and tries to buy it all, we have customers that come in and they're constantly disappointed. You have enough customer disappointment, they start to churn, they go other places. Total Wine also sells these bottles at kind of the best price out there. We don't put markups or premiums on some of these bottles like E.H. Taylor, Blanton's, that type of stuff. So at stake is really reputation. We want to have everything for the customer, and if we're losing it all to one or just a few, we have a lot more disappointment. And if you can create that moment with a customer that comes in and happens to see that bottle because we were able to maintain our inventory position, it makes it even more memorable and has them coming back. It builds a tighter relationship.
Yeah, I remember you giving us an example when we were chatting about the Crown Royal
Blackberry.
Can you share that with our audience?
Yeah, Crown Royal Blackberry was a big hit when it came out. It was so big that we couldn't literally keep it on the shelves quick enough for our digital orders to be picked. So we ended up putting some SKU limits on that, so people can only buy one bottle. We got to the point where we actually had to take it off the website because it was selling too fast, where we couldn't get it out, and it was just getting sucked up. Inventory levels have come back in stock on that, and reduced some of those limitations, but we had customers coming and trying to buy a case or two or three of them, and we had to limit that so we can spread that inventory around.
These are all great points. I think it's important to highlight that solving with policy abuse is important, not just to prevent revenue loss, but it really presents opportunities to drive business growth in new and surprising ways. Starting with you, Mike, what is it that you were able to unlock with the right strategies in place?
Yeah, I really think that going back to the reseller reshipper, it really helped to connect some dots with, not only finance and ops, sales, customer service, but to be able to really have a conversation about contribution margin, to really be able to have a conversation about being more selective of your promo strategy and calendars, and then from a marketability perspective, who do you segment and who do you incentivize to be able to convert, as opposed to who will convert because perhaps, they're just in the market for the best of the best or a specific product, and a coupon really isn't a lever to pull for them to be able to make that decision. So in doing that and really having this unfortunate thing happen, I think it forced a conversation for us to be cognizant that this is real and mitigate that, but then for folks to have a seat at the table to think longer term from a strategic position.
How about you, Matt? What are some of what has this really unlocked for your business above and beyond than preventing loss or insult rates?
Yeah, especially for the digital business, we were able to actually put these items on the website. Before, we had the ability to limit and be able to actually enforce these limits through all of our channels. We just wouldn't have these items on the website. So you'd have people coming to the website, doing a search, not finding it. You don't get any of the SEO value of having these products. You don't get the reputation that Total Wine has everything that somebody would want, because when they go look for that one thing and they don't get any search results, it's a poor customer experience. So really trying to take and apply all of our assortment online by using Policy Builder to really be able to offer these to customers. We get all the benefits, not only from the sales of it, but also the other benefits of reputation, Google ranking, so on and so forth.
Excellent. So really at the end of the day, declining more really was not the KPI that you were measuring. What were the KPIs that you were measuring in this particular case?
Yeah, we were measuring customer engagement. We know we can convert these orders. You get some of these items in a cart, it's almost 100% conversion rate.
Yeah.
But it was really engaging that customer, making them feel special. People telling stories about how they were able to get it. I mean, you sit around a bottle of Crown Royal Blackberry and, I was able to get this because Total Wine had it. So it was really that customer-centric mindset, less the sales and conversion.
Excellent. And for you, Mike, what did success look like for your business?
Yeah, success wasn't necessarily the number of declines, but the lift and remediation of false positives. So prior to going live with Forder, we basically had a static rules-based engine. And what we found is that after implementing Forder and iterating through that and getting to a stable state and working with our rep and really kind of tuning the policy itself, what we had found is we had about a 20% uptick, which is huge, in the reduction of false positives. So at the end of the day, it's really bolstering that customer experience and adding that to your line as opposed to just stomping out the bad orders. So again, I mean, it's an unfortunate situation that we all have in the commerce space,
Yep.
But it's finding the opportunity and to being able to boost CX on top of that.
Were you measuring things like NPS, number of call volumes?
Yeah, and we have a relatively large social presence, and I think one thing I think folks have underscored it throughout the day, it's instantaneous, the world that we live in with instant gratification and knowledge and data. And if something adverse happens, especially if you're on promo and these customers do not have the ability to purchase said promo item, that's one Instagram post, that's one social media post and a negative connotation that, is damaging to the brand. So really having these tools in place and these safeguards, and now with Policy Builder, having the malleability to adjust and throttle on the fly is just huge.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about how you went about executing your policy strategy. So I wanted to understand, how did you go about crafting one and actually putting it into place? So let's start with you, Matt. How did you go about creating one?
Yeah, so once we had the capabilities to actually implement policies, we went through and looked at inventory stances, the rate of replenishment throughout the country. Liquor industry is a little bit hard to work within. You don't have national players that solve for everything. So every distributor had a different inventory position and when things were released. So we were able to build a strategy that says, in Texas, we have a lot of Buffalo Trace. we don't really need to put a limit on these items. It can just flow smoothly. In Maryland and Florida, we don't get a lot of it. So Florida, maybe a little bit more than Maryland, maybe we have a limit 2. And then move up to Maryland, a limit 1. So really trying to look at the market, what the availability is going to be and how much we need to limit it so that we can have as much flowing as possible, but also making sure that we have level inventory. Again, we go from having no limits in certain parts of the country to very strict limits in other parts of the country. And the flexibility of the policy builder lets you, in our world, get down to an item store combination.
Yeah, so you really customized your approach based on regional areas and what was available. In terms of organizational, when you were about to implement your strategy, obviously you looked at data and where do you see the pain and the different trends in different regions, but who are the other teams that you've had to collaborate with internally to actually come up with the right thresholds and approach to policies?
Yeah, we have our merchandising team we had to work very closely with, and our store operation teams. We don't have distribution centers. All orders were filled out of our stores. So we had to tell that our stores out there that, yes, these items are going to be sold online now, and don't be surprised when you start to see them be fulfilled, and don't try to question that these shouldn't be going out. So there was a lot of partnership in our store operations group, because for so many years it has been, these aren't digital available items, and now I have my picking device saying, go pick this thing, and a lot of people were questioning it. So we had to do a lot of reinforcement out to the field that yes, it's okay, it's right, go ahead and fulfill it. And then we had a lot of things that were questioned. Well, we see 6 of these going out at once, like, is this the same person? And having to convince them to trust the system. You have 6 of them going out because it has inventory and people found it quickly. Just like if they wait in the aisles when they know that a truck is coming in, and they just wait for it to be stocked. So that, and then our merchandising team is really constantly monitoring the availability, and will ask us to adjust the limits on each item.
It sounds like you had like a full breadth of marrying the digital and then the in-store experience. So with operations, that seemed pretty complex, but how was it making sure that you were able to move that strategy and get everybody on board? Was it a matter of influencing everybody and understanding what is it that is important and what was driving them to get on board with the strategy?
Yeah, I think it was executive alignment, making sure that all the executives, the C-suite, were all aligned to what we were doing, cascading that down to their teams. And our company works very well when we have executive alignment. Everybody came together. We had a small working group. A couple of them are sitting in the audience today, that actually sat down and worked through the use cases and the questions that are going to come up, and really started to define that process in partnership with everybody that's involved, which then gets cascaded out to the field or the merchants that are placing the orders and helping to decide what inventory levels are out there and what limits we should be putting in place. So once we had alignment, it was very easy to build the process. Executing the process, because it was a small team doing the execution, wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And then we have 280 some on stores. That was the harder part.
Yeah, I bet. 280 stores, not easy. It sounds like a lot of people had skin in the game and a lot of partnerships happening. How about you, Mike? How was it? How did you go about crafting your strategy and actually executing on it?
So the interesting part about our strategy and really the plan forward was, when this happens with the reseller reshipper that we see, it was during a pivotal promo. And it was very much of a matter of fact of, okay, well, this is now a burning issue. Issues resolved, folks go back to their day-to-day, and you kind of forget about it until next time, and you have this cycle, and kind of really articulating to the different operational groups that we have an opportunity here to stop this entirely. So instead of folks, being frantic, let's pull together as a team, understand the critical players and the resources, and align. So the first step was to get folks who may not necessarily ever really work together, because everyone, and this is something that I've found as a lesson learned here, was there were a lot of shadow departments that were putting out these fires that folks maybe didn't even know about. It was an appendage to their day-to-day. Oh, well, when this happens, I do this, but they never socialized it really, or it was just a bullet point on an executive readout. So here, let's dial in and talk about the opportunity and the problem statement. Who are the key contributors? Who equals success? And then build your policy off of that.
Well, I think that these are all great points. It's very incredible to get your insights. One more question. Why is it important to have a holistic abuse strategy? I think we talked about the whack-a-mole. You solve for one area and you see things pop up. Can you elaborate on, I know you started with seller, reshipper, you started with credit cards, and then you started thinking about PayPal and other things. So did you started small and then step back and start looking at the big picture? What was it? Why was it important for you to have a holistic strategy?
Yeah, I mean, an iterative approach is best because then you're able to realize success and what success looks like. You're able to apply lessons learned maybe on the first iteration and then you can apply those to your subsequent, payment methods in your example. So really, you if you think big picture, and chances of paralysis are greater because it may be too big to implement at once. If you do it iteratively, you can pace and throttle to work. You can realize the benefits, communicate that abroad. And really what it does is when people start seeing the tool work and they start seeing the policies work and these fire drills are less and less, then the tool itself becomes relied upon and more importantly, it becomes trusted by everyone within the org. So kind of having that approach, once you're fully implemented, to your point, being holistic, now you have a standard. And it's always good to have standards and not kind of caveats. But yeah, it's really done wonders for us.
Amazing. So what would be next for you now that you have solved for one area and continue? What are you thinking about next?
So next, we've recently gone live with another module of Salesforce. So I was very interested in hearing some of the marketability and the segmentation work that was discussed earlier this morning. And in addition to that, yesterday, we promoted a branch for Apple Pay. And that being said, kind of table stakes with the implementation of Apple Pay was Forder has to be in place. We're not, and really, I mean, when that becomes an underpinning to your strategy going forward, it becomes a constant and a consistent as opposed, it shouldn't even ever be questioned because now this is the way that we do business. Makes
sense. What's up next for you in terms of policy abuse and your strategy? How would you envision expanding or continuing to improve and iterate?
Yeah, we have two different levels of allocated product. We have the product that we have on the site using the current system now. And we have what we call priority access items. Those are the really hard to get items. And today it's only available for our loyalty members at a Grand Reserve. They sign up for a lottery, the lottery runs, you randomly get picked, and then you have the opportunity to purchase those. So how do we start to loosen that up a little bit using the policy tools in place now to make that offering a little bit broader and maybe offer people to buy a few items instead of just the one. So it's really how do we take it and get to that next step of the most allocated items. And then we get into a lot of different policy options. We don't have a ton of returns, but we do have that. It does happen. So is there a way we can start using policies around that and understanding what our customer sentiment may be with those things?
It sounds like if I had to sum it up, you're actually starting small, seeing success, expanding a little bit more. And it's not just about, preventing the loss, but you're neutralizing the loss in essence to be able to continue to delight your customers. So these are all incredible insights. So really appreciate you sharing those with us. I want to talk about, before we wrap up, just to give some nuggets to the audience in terms of some tangible advice and some key takeaways that we could leave them with. So from your perspective, what are some of the takeaways that you would like to share with the audience here?
Yeah, I can start. Don't make it harder than it has to be. I think we spoke earlier, it's not rocket science out there. Apply what's logical. If you try to get too complicated and too nuanced with it, your customers aren't going to understand it. And people that are trying to be malicious, or the bots of the world, they're just going to figure it out. They're going to move on. They don't really care why, but it's that customer that is sitting there scratching their head and trying to understand what did you put in place, because you got so nuanced and so complicated that they just don't know what to do. So really try to keep it simple.
Okay, keep it simple.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Kind of my adage to the team was perfect's the enemy of good. So we need to start somewhere. The other thing is, as we mentioned, iterate. So really pull your business teams together to understand the current state and replicate that on a small scale. Set the KPIs, see the success, see the metrics, and then iterate. And basically, our approach was the 80-20 rule. And we were going to start small and more. And now we're seeing, tangible value on that.
So it's not rocket science, simple, keep it small, simple, stupid in a way, execute on that, and then expand from there. And it sounds to me that declining orders isn't really the end game. It's more about revenue lift and delighting your bigger base of your the bigger customer base. So, all right. Well, so thank you for your time today. I think we are we're going to close this conversation, and I wanted to thank you for a great panel and your super valuable insights.